Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Prabhupada Disciples Association Wednesday evening here in Eastern Canada. Caitanya Caritamrita reading and discussion with His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, who's in California. And we're reading, and we want to make this a conscious effort with all of us. We are reading from the original 1974-75 Caitanya Caritamrita translations of Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami's narration on the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is very important for spiritual life. And this is part of our weekly sadhana program for the members of the Prabhupada Disciples Association and the Hare Krishna Society that we have organized. So along with the regular sadhana programs, which are on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock here Eastern Canada, Eastern Standard Time, we also have Bhagavad Gita class on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. and the Srimad Bhagavatam class on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. And for those who are not able to attend, they can participate online at the Krishna Consciousness Movement YouTube channel, in which all these classes are being recorded. So this enables our membership to keep pace with the readings that we're doing. For example, the Srimad Bhagavatam reading that we started some months ago was right at the beginning of the book. So the first canto, and we started and we read the introductory pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we've moved forward and we're in the third chapter now and progressing to the end. And this will be part of a program that we want to provide for our membership in the future. And our hope is that we can publish these original books for you so that you have an opportunity to keep them in your own libraries and use them accordingly to make advancement in Krishna consciousness, because Krishna consciousness advancement is based on hearing from the pure devotee A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. This is fundamental to our ability to grow our Krishna conscious devotional creeper. And along with that, we promote the principles that Prabhupada expounded for us all, which were as follows: that we should chant 16 rounds every day of the Maha Mantra using our japa mala beads and politely murmuring the holy name without fail. This is a prerequisite for all initiated devotees of Srila Prabhupada, whether past, present, or future. And along with that, association with other devotees that are Prabhupada focused, and working together with them to spread the message of Srila Prabhupada without any adulteration or change. This is something that's going on globally amongst many groups, and that's very unfortunate, because as a result, the atmosphere becomes chaotic in terms of understanding what is the original teachings of Srila Prabhupada through his books for all his membership, and in this way enable people to progress on the path of spiritual life and get the highest benefit at the time of death from the practice, strict practice of this process. And Prabhupada taught this by his example, as we've been reading in his original diaries from 1966. And it's been an extraordinary journey, all of us together. And I want to thank you all. At least some of us attend early enough to hear the diaries. A lot of people show up later, but this is the way. People are busy and things are difficult to achieve for some people. But we do thank all of the members for attending the classes and promoting the Prabhupada Disciples Association program, which we are forever hoping will expand and increase to please our spiritual master. And what we're going to do is we're going to go forward here, and we're at the, let's see, we're in July. We finished up July 12th, 1966, and I see we've got a letter that's come in. Prabhupada said, it said here in the notes that Srila Prabhupada does not mention this letter in the diary, so we have included it here at the date of sending. So we're going to go to that. So all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga, Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Mat, Gohoti Ashram, 8766. With due obeisances to the lotus feet of Sri Bhagavat Purushas, Pujapad Maharaj received your affectionate note of 23/6/66 yesterday. Yesterday only I returned from Shillong. The chief minister with other ministers and elites of the city all appreciated our ideas. We were there for 40 days. Some collection also were made from government level for the completion of Sankirtan Bhaban undertaken by me here. So it's the brahmachari that he was trying to cultivate. He's giving him some report back to Prabhupada based on the letter that Prabhupada had sent to him. So Prabhupada was busy typing letters on his old style typewriter. And it doesn't, without using the whiteout. We were there for 40 days. Some collections also were made from the government level for the completion of the Sankirtan Bhaban undertaken by me here. About 50,000 are already spent. Another 12,000 are required for the completion of the work. Though the undertaken work is gone on rapidly with the intention to open the door during Sri Krishna Janmashtami festival, yet I'm always ready to leave for America or UK, anywhere if I can avail such opportunity. So he's expressing his interest to go. And by the way, I just wanted to mention, we are having a Janmashtami festival on September 7th in Sacramento. And you'll see the ads on Facebook if you're on that medium. And please share the poster and the information to others, as well as our Prabhupada Vyas Puja book that we're preparing. If I can avail such opportunity, India's work will be done anytime today or hereafter, but Mahaprabhu's thought to the foreigners in the foreign countries is very, very encouraging to me. I have the pleasure to get myself at your disposal. I shall be ever enticing your lofty ideas and ideals. I pray my Guru Maharaj Ji in my previous letters to give proper attention to your foreign preachings. Maharaj Ji wrote me in reply that you wanted to do something substantial at Janasi sometime before, and you wanted to some brahmacharis in that connection from him, but he was disappointed afterwards seeing your silent attitude, so he is likely to take proper initiative if there is some bona fide records during your correspondence with Sri Padampat Singhania regarding Sri Radha Krishna Temple at America and the amount he proposes to spend thereof. He wanted me to write to you, to write to him clearly regards your aims and objects. Even he wrote to me that if Padam Patji wants, actually, he is a big man to do anything easily and properly regarding foreign exchange, etc. If the program is not bona fide, the approach to a big personality will be ludicrous, no doubt. So he's giving instruction to Prabhupada here. We get that. Yes, a lot of people telling seniors, Vaishnava like this, what to do. So think over this matter. Very interesting, by the way. This is very interesting to see how the people who are living in India are responding back to Prabhupada's requests. So kindly think over the matter and do the needful. If you want me, and me only, I shall be at your beck and call. No doubt. I'm anxious to know about no objection report. If actually I am to start by the end of this month, July, as per your previous note, I pray from you some encouraging reply early to the address given above. Mridanga and Chadar, etc. are minor things, and I shall purchase them. You need not be worried about. With Dandabat pranams to your lotus feet, again, unworthy servant, Mangal Niloy Brahmachari. So we'll contemplate what it means to see how these people in India are relating to Prabhupada from the Gaudiya Math, and move forward now with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari by Srila Prabhupada, hopefully, unless we have a surprise from our production chief, Vinkat Bhatta in South India. We're so happy we've got a global team here. And then after that, we'll have the reading and discussion by His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yaśodā-nandana Brajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yaśodā-nandana Yaśodā-nandana Yamuna-tira banachari Yamuna-tira banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kṛṣṇa-bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kṛṣṇa-bihari Jai Amaspat Paramahansa Parivrajagacārya Sattvaresvara Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavavrinda ki Jai Ramacārya Sri Haridas Thakur ki Jai Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki Jai Sri Radha Krishna Mokh Gopinath Sam Khand Radha Khand Giridhar ki Jai Vrindavan Dham ki Jai Navadvip Dham ki Jai Ganga Mai की जाए जमुना माई की जाए गुरु द्वारका धाम की जाए स्वामी तो भक्तविंद की जाए और ग्लोरी टू देयर समझ और ग्लोरी टू देयर समझ थैंक यू वेरी मच
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Narayanam namaskritya, Narayanam namaskritya. When I read the Sanskrit, you can all recite the second line. Let's try again. Narayanam namaskritya, Narayanam namaskritya, Naram cheva narottamam, Naram cheva narottamam, Devim saraswatim vyasam, Devim saraswatim vyasam, Tato jayam mudirayat, Tato jayam mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the superhumost human being Narayana, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Welcome everybody to this reading and discussion on Sri Caitanya Caritamrita. We are reading from the original 1974 non-edited, non-adulterated version. Before we beginning in chapter 4, text 21, we will read a few selected verses from Adi Lila, chapter 1, text 18 through 22. Jai Jai Sri Caitanya Jai Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Glory to Sri Caitanya and Nityananda. Glory to Advaita Chandra and glory to all the devotees of Sri Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. Text 19. Etina Thakur Gaudiya ke karye chenoyatma sat, etinera charana vandan tere morinat. These three deities of Vrindavana, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinatha, have absorbed the heart and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya. I worship their lotus feet, for they are the lords of my heart. Text number 20. Grante Rarambikari Mangala Charana, Guru Vaishnav Bhagavan Tinera Smarana. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. Text 21. Tinera smarane vigna vinashana, anayasya nijavan chitapurana. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desires. Text 22. Se mangala charanoi trivida prakar, vastu nirdesha shiravada namaskara. The invocation involved three processes: defining the objective, offering benediction, and offering obeisances. So we will be reading today a few select verses from Adi-lila chapter 4, commencing on text 21-22. All synonyms, translations, and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness movement. Mora putra mora shaka mora pranapati, bhave ye mora kare shuddha bhakti, apanake badamani amari samahina, se bhavata ami atahara adhina, mora my, putra son, mora my, Saka friend, Mora my, Pranapati Lord of life, E Bhavi in this way, Ye those who, More unto me, Kare do, Shuddha Bhakti pure devotion, Apanake himself, Bada great, Mane he regards, Amare me, Sama equal, Hina or lower, Sebhave in that way, I am, Ami I, Tahara to him, Adhina subordinate. Translation. If one cherishes pure loving devotion to me, thinking of me as his son, his friend, or his beloved, regarding himself as great and considering me as equal or inferior, I become subordinate to him. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In Caitanya-caritāmṛta, three kinds of devotional service are described, namely bhakti, ordinary devotional service, shuddha bhakti, pure devotional service, and vidya bhakti, mixed devotional service. When devotional service is executed with some material purpose, involving fruitive activities, mental speculations, or mystic yoga, it is called mixed or adulterated devotional service. Besides bhakti yoga, Bhagavad Gita also describes karma yoga, jnana yoga, and dhyana yoga. Yoga means linking with the Supreme Lord, which is possible only through devotion. Fruitive activities ending in devotional service, philosophical speculation ending in devotional service, and the practice of mysticism ending in devotional service are known respectively as karma yoga, jnana yoga, and dhyana yoga. But such devotional service is adulterated by the three kinds of material activities. For those grossly engaged in identifying the body as the self, pious activity or karma yoga is recommended. For those who identify the mind with the self, philosophical speculation or jnana yoga is recommended. But devotees standing on the spiritual platform have no need of such material conceptions of adulterated devotion. Adulterated devotional service does not directly aim for love of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, service performed strictly in conformity with the revealed scriptures is better than such vidya bhakti, because it is free from all kinds of material contamination. It is executed in Krishna consciousness solely to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those who are spontaneously devoted to the Lord and have no aims for material gain are called attracted devotees. They are spontaneously attracted to the service of the Lord, and they follow in the footsteps of self-realized souls. Their pure devotion, Shuddha Bhakti, manifested from pure love of Godhead, surpasses the regulative principles of the authoritative scriptures. Sometimes, loving ecstasy transcends regulative principles. Such ecstasy, however, is completely on the spiritual platform and cannot be imitated. The regulative principles help ordinary devotees rise to the stage of perfect love of Godhead. Pure love for Krishna is the perfection of pure devotion, and pure devotional service is identical with spontaneous devotional service. Flawless execution of regulative principles is exhibited in the Vaikuntha planets. But strictly executing these principles, one can be elevated to the Vaikuntha planets. But spontaneous pure loving service is found in Krishna Loka alone. Text 23. Mayi bhakti ribhutanam amritatvaya kalpate dishtya yasin matsneho bhavati nam madapanaha. Mayi, to me. Bhakti, devotional service. He, certainly. Bhutanam, of the living beings. Amritatvaya, the eternal life. Kalpate, brings about. Dishtya, by good fortune. Yat, which. Asit, was. Mat, for me. Sneha, the affection. Bhavatinam, of all of you. Mat, of me. Apanaha, the obtaining. Translation. Devotional service rendered to me by the living beings revives their eternal life. O my dear damsels of Vraja, your affection for me is your good fortune, for it is the only means by which you have obtained my favor. Purport. Pure devotional service is represented in the activities of the residents of Vraja Bhumi, Vrindavana. During a solar eclipse, the Lord came from Dwaraka and met the inhabitants of Vrindavana at Samanta Panchaka. The meeting was intensely painful for the damsels of Rajabhumi because Lord Krishna apparently left them to reside at Dwarka. But the Lord obligingly acknowledged the pure devotional service of the damsels of Vraja by speaking this verse. Bhagavatam 10, 82-45. Text 24. Mata more putra bhavi karena bandhana, atihina jnane kare lalana palana. Mata, mother, more, me. Putra bhave, in the position of a son. Karena, does. Bandhana, binding. Atihina jnane, in thinking very poor. Kare, does. Lalana, nourishing. Palana, protecting. Translation. Mother sometimes binds me as her son. She nourishes and protects me, thinking me utterly helpless. Text 25. Sakashuddha sakya kariskande arohana, tumi kon badaloka tumi ami sama. Saka, the friend, Shuddha sakya, in pure friendship. Kare, does. Skande, on the shoulders. Arohana, mounting. To me, you. Kon, what? Bada, big. Loka, person. To me, you. Ami, I. Sama, the same. Translation. My friends climb on my shoulders in pure friendship, saying, "What kind of big man are you? You and I are equal." Text 26. Priya yadimano kari kara ye bartsan, vedastuti oite hare se moraman. Priya, the lover. Yadi, if. Manakari, sulking. Karaye, does. Bhartsana, rebuking. Vedastuti, the Vedic prayers. Oite, from. Hare, takes away. Se, that. Mora, my mind. Mana, mind. Translation. If my beloved consort reproaches me in a sulky mood, that steals my mind from the reverent hymns of the Vedas. Purport. According to the Upanishads, all living entities are dependent on the supreme living entity, the personality of Godhead. As it is said, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Eko Bahunam Yubhadadati Kaman. One eternal living entity supports all the other eternal living entities. Because the Supreme Personality of Godhead maintains all the other living entities, they remain subordinate to the Lord, even joined with Him in the reciprocation of loving affairs. But in the course of exchanging transcendental love of the highest purity, sometimes the subordinate devotee tries to predominate over the predominator. One who lovingly engages with the Supreme Lord as if his mother or father sometimes supersedes the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, his fiancé or lover sometimes supersedes the position of the Lord, but such attempts are exhibitions of the highest love. Only out of pure love does the subordinate lover of the Supreme Personality of Godhead chide him. The Lord, enjoying this chiding, takes it very nicely. The exhibition of natural love makes such activities very enjoyable. In worship of the Supreme Lord with veneration, there is no manifestation of such natural love because the devotee considers the Lord his superior. Regulative principles in devotional service are meant for those who have not invoked their natural love of Godhead. When natural love arises, all regulative methods are surpassed, and pure love is exhibited between the Lord and the devotee. Although on such a platform of love, the devotee sometimes appears to predominate over the Lord or transgress regulative principles, such dealings are far more advanced than ordinary dealings through regulative principles with awe and veneration. A devotee who is actually free from all designations due to complete attachment and love for the Supreme exhibits spontaneous love of God, love for Godhead, which is always superior to the devotion of regulative principles. The informal language used between lover and beloved is significant of pure affection. When devotees worship their beloved as the most venerable object, spontaneous loving sentiments are observed to be lacking. A neophyte devotee who follows the Vedic instructions that regulate those who lack pure love of Godhead may superficially seem more exalted than a devotee in spontaneous love of Godhead. But in fact, such spontaneous pure love is far superior to regulated devotional service. Such pure love of Godhead is always glorious in all respects, more so than reverential devotional service rendered by a less affectionate devotee. Text 27-28. E Shuddha Bhaktalan Karimu Avatar Kariba Vivida Vida Adbhuta Vihar Vaikunta Dinahi Ye Lilara Prachar Se Lila Kariba Yate Mora Chamatkar. These Shuddha Bhakta, pure devotees, Lana taking, Karimu I shall make, Avatara incarnation, Kariba I shall do, Vidha various kinds, Adbhuta wonderful, Vihara pastimes, Vaikunta Adye in the Vaikunta planets, Nahi not, Ye whatever, Lilara of the pastimes, Prachara broadcasting, Se those, Lila pastimes, Kariba I shall perform, Yate in which, Mora my, Chamatkar wonder. Translation. Taking these pure devotees with me, I shall descend and sport in various wonderful ways, unknown even in Vaikunta. I shall broadcast such pastimes by which even I am amazed. Purport. Lord Krishna, in the form of Lord Chaitanya, educates his devotees to develop progressively to the stage of pure devotional service. Thus he appears periodically as a devotee to take part in various wonderful activities depicted in his sublime philosophy and teachings. There are innumerable Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual sky, and in all of them the Lord accepts the service rendered by his eternal devotees in reverential mood. Therefore, Lord Sri Krishna presents his most confidential pastimes as he enjoys them in his transcendental realm. Such pastimes are so attractive that they attract even the Lord, and thus He relishes them in the form of Lord Chaitanya. Text 29. Mo vishaya gopi ganera upapati bhave yoga maya karibeka apana prabhave. Mo vishaye, on the subject of me, gopi ganera, of the gopis, upapati, of a paramour, bhave, in the position, yogamaya, Lord Krishna's internal potency, karibeka, will make, apana, her own, prabhave, by the influence. Translation. Yogamaya, the influence of Yogamaya, will inspire the gopis with the sentiment that I am their paramour. Purport. Yogamaya is the name of the internal potency that makes the Lord forget himself and become an object of love for his pure devotee in different transcendental mellows. This Yogamaya potency creates a spiritual sentiment in the minds of the damsels of Braja by which they think of Lord Krishna as their paramour. This sentiment is never to be compared to mundane, illicit sexual love. It has nothing to do with sexual psychology, although the pure love of such devotees seem to be sexual. One should know for certain that nothing can exist in this cosmic manifestation that has no real counterpart in the spiritual field. All material manifestations are emanations of the transcendence. The erotic principles of amorous love reflected in mixed material values are perverted reflections of the reality of spirit. But one cannot understand the reality unless one is sufficiently educated in the spiritual science. Om Ajnana-timirandasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. I offer my respectful obeisances. We all offer our respectful obeisances unto our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, who has opened our eyes from the darkness of ignorance with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatihi Visheshatah Adadana Strinam Danter Idam Yache Punah Punah Srimadrupa Padamboja Dhulisyam Janma Janmani Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaham Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Rup Shri Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunatha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is nicely describing the various kinds of bhakti and the results of such bhakti. It's quite significant that in text number 19, Srila Prabhupada is explaining, translating, Amake yatete bhakta bhaje se ye bhave, tare se bhave bhaji emora swabhave. In whatever transcendental mellow my devotee worships me, I reciprocate with him. That is my natural behavior. Prabhupada explains, the Lord, by his inherent nature, reveals himself before his devotees according to their inherent devotional service. The Vrindavana pastimes demonstrated that although generally people worship God with reverence, the Lord is more pleased when a devotee thinks of him as his pet son, personal friend, or most dear fiancé, and renders service unto him with such natural affection. So this is a very important point. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita has explained, Yeyatamam prapadyanti tam stateva bhajamyaham. Mama vartmanu vartante manusyaha partha saravashaha. In whatever way my devotees surrender unto me, I reward him accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Prita. Now this is very important. As we see sometimes the atheistic class of men, they raise the argument, why is God partial to the devotees? Or if there is a God, why is there so much suffering? That is like asking or saying to the government, well, if there is a government, why do they maintain the prison house? Yeah, they maintain the prison house because there is always a class of men, always, that will disobey the laws of the government, that disobeys the law and order in human society. Therefore, there is a prison house. Similarly, in this material world, this world is like a prison house for those disobedient living entities that choose to rebel against the authority of God, against the authority of Krishna. Therefore, this material world has some suffering. Now, there is another transcendental aspect to all of this, that the devotees, regardless of whether there is suffering or enjoyment, they're always engaged in the service of Krishna. We find in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Narayana parasarve nakutashtana bibhyati svarga pavarga narikeshwapi tulyarta darshinaha. The devotees, Narayana para, those devoted to Lord Narayana, Lord Krishna, whether they are in Svarga or higher planets, Apavarga or liberated, or Naraka or hellish situation, they're always transcendently situated by the mercy of the Lord. Now this is quite significant. We've been reading from the diary of Srila Prabhupada in 1966 when he commenced the activities of the Krishna Consciousness movement in New York. And many of these situations were not very optimal. There was not so much facility. We see that Prabhupada had to move from one location to the other. Many times there were obstacles, there were reverses, there were situations which were not very, very heavenly or very, very difficult situations. But yet Prabhupada was always transcendently situated. Now we see here in the Caitanya Caritamrita that Krishna Das Kaviraj is explaining the various kinds of devotional service and why Krishna is very much attracted to those devotees that are engaged in this loving, natural devotional service. In text 21-22, it describes, if one cherishes pure loving devotion to me, thinking of me as his son, his friend or his beloved, regarding himself as great and considering me as equal or inferior, I become subordinate to him. Now, this is a concept that is not easy to understand. Those devotees who are engaged in this spontaneous or Raganuga Bhakti, Prabhupada explains in the purport, those who are spontaneously devoted to the Lord and have no aims for material gain are called attracted devotees. They are spontaneously attracted to the service of the Lord, and they follow in the footsteps of self-realized souls. Their pure devotion, Shuddha Bhakti, manifested from pure love of Godhead, surpasses the regulative principles of the authoritative scriptures. Sometimes loving ecstasy transcends regulative principles. Such ecstasy, however, is completely on the spiritual platform and cannot be imitated. We see from Prabhupada's teachings, he explains that there are some class of devotees called sahajiyas, basically people who take things very cheaply, who try to imitate the activities of exalted Paramahamsa devotees. Sahajiyas will often present themselves as very advanced devotees, very confidential devotees. Some of them will even preach that they can reveal the innermost bhava of a devotee, the innermost devotional sentiment of a devotee. Srila Prabhupada, whenever he was asked about Siddha Deha, about liberation, about personal relationship with Krishna, Prabhupada always replied that first you become liberated, follow these regulative principles, become liberated, and then it will be revealed to you. It's quite significant when Srila Prabhupada was asked by one senior devotee, of everything you've taught, what is the most important? Prabhupada's reply was quoting the verse from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, Yasya Deve Parabhaktir Yasya Deve Tata Guru Tasyete Katitayartaha Prakashante Mahatmanaha. That for those who have firm faith in the spiritual master and Krishna, all the import, all the meaning of the Vedic literatures are revealed unto such devotees. Now we see here that Krishna Das Kaviraj is explaining that those devotees who have got that natural raga sentiment, raganuga bhakti, they are very dear to Krishna. And the whole aim of the devotional principles, of the regulative principles, is to bring one to that spontaneous platform. But again, there are some sahajiyas who think that they can artificially demonstrate this platform. While Prabhupada explains that this is naturally revealed, they want to do it artificially. But yet we see they cannot maintain such position. Prabhupada warned that this sort of devotional sentiment is something that will be revealed by Lord Krishna, that will be revealed by the mercy of Krishna. In the poetry of Bhaktivedanta Thakur, there is one place where he explains that in the neophyte stage of devotional service, if one artificially attempts this raga bhakti, this ragunara bhakti, this is like trying to jump onto a mango tree and grab an unripe mango, thinking that now that I've got the mango, I will taste the sweetness. But the problem is the person doesn't understand. You have to wait till the mango naturally ripens. Then you can get the sweetness. So in the same way, one has to gradually become mature in devotional service. The devotional sentiments will become manifested, and all of these various points will be revealed to the devotee. In 1970 in Los Angeles, there was one devotee lady named Ujjvala Devi Dasi. Very nice devotee. When I first met this devotee, I asked her, what does your name mean? And she explained that when she received the name from Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada told her that this is one of the most exalted stage of love of Godhead. And if you just follow these regulative principles that I've given you, chant your 16 rounds every day without offense, you will reach this in this lifetime. Guaranteed. Now, Prabhupada did not say for people to run to Radhakund or seek some Babaji Raganuga specialist. No. He just said, just follow this fundamental instruction. So that requires that we maintain faith. Yasya Devi Parabhakti Yata Devi Tata Guru. There's faith in Krishna, and there's faith in the bona fide representative of Krishna. And this is important because we have seen many times devotees losing their connection with the pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada, and artificially trying to enter in some Gopi Baba club or confidential discussions of Rasa Leela, these kind of things. There's another class of people, after Srila Prabhupada's manifested presence, some members of some neo-mats who started to preach that Swami Bhaktivedanta, he just taught the basic, the Vidhi Bhakti. He just taught the basic fundamentals, and we will teach you the higher stage, the advanced Raganuga Bhakti, all of this. This is complete nonsense, offensive nonsense. Prabhupada taught everything, the Vidhi Bhakti, the Raga Bhakti, the Prema Bhakti, everything. Everything he has given. He's given the process, he's given the complete explanation, everything. But those who are not patient, those who artificially try to jump, like the person trying to jump into the mango tree, trying to grab the mango when it is not ripe, they're destined for failure. They're destined for failure. We have seen during Prabhupada's manifested presence that he was very careful to introduce things in a very systematic way. For example, in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, in some purport, Prabhupada explains that he had not yet introduced the worship of Shalagram Shila, although most of his followers were not born in Brahmin families, but when they would be properly situated in the Brahminical life, he would introduce. I'm paraphrasing here. So Srila Prabhupada did not come off the boat in Boston in 1965 and early in 1966 and immediately introduced the Shalagram Shila worship. Just today, one devotee sent me some YouTube clips of Srila Prabhupada chanting in Tompkins Square Park. And there was Brahmananda, Kirtanananda, Gargamuni, different devotees were there. It was very simple. And Prabhupada kept chanting and chanting and chanting. That is the power of the pure devotee. He is empowered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is empowered by Krishna himself with superior intelligence, all mystic power, to introduce things according to time, place, and circumstance. That is a very important point. Now, one cannot imitate that and say, oh, Prabhupada did that, then we can do. Yeah, well, you cannot invent. A person cannot manufacture his own way of bhakti. I keep referring to this, and many times people have asked me, well, why do you keep mentioning this point about inventing mantras or manufacturing new mantras? Well, the answer is pretty simple, and Prabhupada would do that. He would not allow these kind of concoctions. Today, one very nice devotee from Russia asked me, so during Prabhupada's presence, Well, how was the dancing? What kind of dancing did Srila Prabhupada do? As most older devotees know, Prabhupada introduced what is called the Swami step, where he would raise the hands in the air and sway very gently from left to right, moving one foot over the other. And gradually, sometimes he would jump in ecstasy. It was a very divine, very sweet, transcendental. Of course, over the years, gradually, many times it went out of control. We have seen Srila Prabhupada during his presence, during his Prakrita Lila, or his manifested physical presence, sometimes he would send his secretary or his personal servant to stop the Kirtan. If the Kirtan went on too long with his Haribol for 15, 20 minutes, Prabhupada did not want that. He allowed it once or twice, but he wanted it very simple, the dancing, the chanting. Now, of course, one may argue, well, there's nothing wrong with chanting the name of Radharani. Many of these devotees chant some kind of bhajan, or, of course, there's nothing wrong with chanting Radharani's name. Prabhupada mentions that in some lecture, that in Vrindavan, in Brajabhumi, everybody is always saying Jai Radhe. Of course, that is very beneficial. But if we want success in devotional life, we have to follow the examples and instruction and directives of the Acharya. We cannot manufacture like some impatient devotees. This is a very important point. We see in the writings of Kavi Karnapur, one of the direct associates of Lord Chaitanya. He was one of the first associates who gave the names of the members of the Gaudiya Vaishnava disciplic succession and the relationship between Madhavendra Puri and Lakshmipati Tirtha and the connection with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That this exalted devotee, Kavi Karnapur, has described that in the Padma Purana, it is described, Sampradaya Vihinaye Mantraste Nishvalamataha, that unless you receive your mantra in bona fide disciplic succession from authorized sources, Nishvalamataha, it will be useless, fruitless. So those devotees who are manufacturing new mantras, new songs, not given or authorized by Prabhupada, the question is, why are you doing that? Prabhupada did not introduce that. Our acharyas such as Krishna Das Kaviraj, Vrindavan Das Thakur, Murari Gupta, Caitanya Bhagavat, Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Caitanya-carita, none of them have introduced some of these concocted mantras. Now, why are you doing it? Who authorized that? But they don't think. They're thinking, now we are so exalted, we can invent new mantras. No. No. That is not the standard. We see some misguided person, they say, oh, you should concentrate on your bhajan, like a bhajananandi. Well, that's nice. So you do your bhajan. But Prabhupada always emphasized Goshtianandi, preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya, engaging in Samkirtan, engaging in distributing the message of Lord Chaitanya as explained by Srila Prabhupada himself. So this is a very important point. We have to stay faithful to the instruction of the Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, and then all success will come. Otherwise, there will simply be confusion. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much, Yaśodā-nandana, for that in-depth explanation of these amazing verses that give us insight into the science of self-realization and here in a progressive manner the different stages by which we can advance to the platform of real love of God. Because the material world is diametrically opposite to the spiritual world. It's a perverted reflection. Everything we see in the material world is simply a perverted reflection of the reality of the spiritual world. We have some insight how the spiritual pastimes are carrying on by the study of the mundane world. But we must remember it is a perverted reflection. We have to respect who we are. Nicho Nichananam Chaitanas Chaitananam Eko Yo Bahunam Vadati Kaman. And Prabhupada also translates this verse that he is the chief eternal amongst all eternal living beings. So we have to remember that we can't become puffed up, but that we are insignificant specks in the universe, and therefore to try to imitate Krishna. This is a great mistake, especially of the Sahajiya class of men, as Yaśodā was speaking. Krishna is the supreme eternal being amongst all living, eternal living entities. But we should never think that we can imitate Krishna and his pastimes. Krishna had many wives, 16,108 queens. So many people, especially in India, they try to imitate. I've heard them say, oh, Krishna was a great lover, therefore I'll be a great lover. This is a great offense and reveals how confused they are. Here in Caitanya-caritāmṛta, we are learning the science of Krishna consciousness from Srila Prabhupada and Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami. Is very privileged information. And one can understand transcendental love, which has nothing to do with mundane sex life, like the cats and dogs. It's mundane sex life is strictly for creation, but it has nothing to do with what we call love on the spiritual platform, prema. Because again, as I mentioned, and it's further described in the Bhagavad Gita in the 15th chapter, and we'll go quickly to that just as a reference, chapter 15, text number 1. The Blessed Lord said, there is a banyan tree which has its roots upward and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas. So we'll go to this first, the last paragraph in the purport. This tree, being the reflection of the real tree, is an exact replica. Everything is there in the spiritual world. The impersonalists take Brahma to be the root of this material tree, and from the root, according to Sankhya philosophy, some Prakriti, Purusha, and then the 3 gunas, then the 5 gross elements, Pancha, Mahabhuta, then the 10 senses, Ascendriya, mind, etc. In this way, they divide up the whole material world. If Brahma is the center of all manifestations, then this material world is a manifestation of the center by 180 degrees. And the other 180 degrees constitute the spiritual world. The material world is the perverted reflection. So the spiritual world must have the same variegatedness, but in reality. The Prakriti is the external energy of the Supreme Lord. And the Purusha is the Supreme Lord himself. And that is explained in Bhagavad Gita. Since this manifestation is material, it is temporary. a reflection is temporary, for it is sometimes seen and sometimes not seen. But the origin from whence the reflection is reflected is eternal. The material reflection of the real tree has to be cut off. When it's said that a person knows the Vedas, is it assumed that he knows how to cut off attachment to this material world? If one knows the process, he actually knows the Vedas. One who is attracted by the ritualistic formula of the Vedas is attracted by the beautiful green leaves of the tree. He does not exactly know the purpose of the Vedas. The purpose of the Vedas, as disclosed by the personality of God himself, is to cut down this reflected tree and attain the real tree of the spiritual world. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, if you could further comment, please.
Now, there was a question on the chat with a devotee asking.
Yes.
I was trying to find some additional answer. Some of the most senior Srila Prabhupada disciples accepted non-ISKCON devotees as their Shiksha Guru for guidance in day-to-day spiritual life. How to understand this? Kindly guide. And my reply basically is a quotation from a letter that Srila Prabhupada sent us in December of 1973. What happened is that Srila Prabhupada had allowed devotees to visit the son of Bhaktivedanta Thakur, Lalit Prasad Thakur, in Birnagar, the birthplace of Bhaktivedanta Thakur. So we had gone there several times while we were in India between 1971 and 1973. And we did not know by the time we came back to America in April of 1973 that Prabhupada had canceled that instruction that it was okay for devotees to go there. So Prabhupada wrote that letter. He says, now one thing I understand, that in the past, you were visiting Lalit Prasad Thakur. Prasad Ji, and that you may also be planning to continue to visit him when you return to India. This is not approved, Maybe, and I request you not to go to see him anymore. He holds a grudge against my Guru Maharaj, and even if it is transcendental, it will gradually appear mundane in our eyes. Whatever is to be learned of the teachings of Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur can be learned from our books. There is no need whatsoever for any outside instruction. So I hope that you understood these matters, and I pray to Kṛṣṇa always for your protection and advancement in Krishna consciousness. Now, it's quite significant that Srila Prabhupada also, in some other letters, in a famous letter to Rupanuga in April of 1974, repeats the same kind of advice amongst some of his about his godbrothers. Prabhupada said, you are right about Sridhar Maharaj's genuineness, but in my opinion, he's the best of the lot. He's my old friend. At least he executes the regulative principles of devotional service. I do not wish to discuss about activities of my godbrothers, but it is a fact that they have no life for preaching work. All are satisfied with a place for residence in the name of a temple. They engage disciples to get foodstuff by transcendental advices and eat and sleep. They have no idea or brain how to broadcast the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. My Guru Maharaj used to lament many times for this reason, and he thought that if one man at least had understood the principle of preaching, then his mission would achieve success. In the latter days of my Guru Maharaj, he was very disgusted. Actually, he left this world earlier. Otherwise, he would have continued to live for more years. Still, he requested his disciples to form a strong governing body for preaching the cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He never recommended anyone to be Acharya of the Gaudiya Math. But Sridhar Maharaj is responsible for disobeying this order of Guru Maharaj, and he and others who are already dead unnecessarily taught that there must be one Acharya. If Guru Maharaj could have seen someone who was qualified at that time to be Acharya, he would have mentioned, because on the night before he passed away, he talked of so many things, but he never mentioned an Acharya. His idea was Acharya was not to be nominated amongst the governing body. He said openly, you make a GBC and conduct the mission. So his idea was amongst the member of GBC who would come out successful in self-effulgent Acharya would be automatically selected. So Sridhar Maharaj and his two associate gentlemen unauthorized selected one Acharya, and later it proved a failure. The result is now everyone is claiming to be Acharya, even though they may be Kanishthadikari, no ability to preach. In some of the camps, the Acharya is being changed 3 times a year. Therefore, we may not commit the same mistake in our ISKCON camp. Actually, amongst my God brothers, no one is qualified to become Acharya. So it is better not to mix with my God brothers very intimately, because instead of inspiring our students and disciples, they may sometimes pollute them. This attempt was made previously by them, especially Madhav Maharaj and Tirtha Maharaj and Bon Maharaj. But somehow or other, I saved the situation. This is going on. We shall be very careful about them and not mix with them. This is my instruction to you all. They cannot help us in our movement, but they are very competent to harm our natural progress. So we must be very careful about them. And this letter was a letter from Srila Prabhupada to Rupanuga at GBC on April 28, 1974. Now it's quite significant that Srila Prabhupada is expressing here that this is an instruction to all of his disciples. There's another letter that Prabhupada wrote to Vishwakarma Prabhu 1 year later in October, where Prabhupada explained that he gave an instruction to all of his disciples not to associate with his godbrothers, not to visit their temples, because he saw that their attempt was to harm the progress of his movement. Now, this is very important because this is a very important question. It's a very important point from Mongol Krishna Prabhu. And this is applicable to all disciples because there are many people who think they know better. They will take some selective statements out of context from Srila Prabhupada and say, oh, Prabhupada says we can do this. Prabhupada said we can do that. Prabhupada was friendly with that devotee. Prabhupada said that this devotee can teach this and teach that. Prabhupada was very kind to all of his godbrothers. He was very gracious and very tactful. But he did not approve of their disobedience of His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's orders. And that was a disaster. It had also brought a disaster in the post-1977 ISKCON mission. Hare Krishna.
Letter, which I found very informative, before we continue the discussion with our friend Balaram in Australia, I found it very interesting, everyone, to see how Prabhupada related to his godbrothers and how he didn't see them, according to Bhaktisiddhanta's instructions, qualified to accept the role of Acharya. But yet, in the ISKCON movement, despite multiple fall downs by many, many people, despite all of the grievances that we see that are existing globally from thousands of people, still they maintain this position that they can be acharyas in the line of disciplic succession, from the 6 Goswamis to Bhaktivinoda Thakur to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami to Srila Prabhupada and 10 to the 100 or so gurus that are currently engaged in the business of making members. There's two things about this business. Membership means money. When you have a member of anything, if they become affiliated with you, even in the material world, you get membership, you get money. And this is exactly how it's being applied in the attraction of people to the membership of the ISKCON group. Balaramji in Australia, maybe you could answer further this Prabhu's question that he had on the chat. Did you see it by chance?
Yes, Prabhu. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hoping for the mercy of the Vaishnavas assembled. Thank you. That particular letter to Rupanuga Prabhu, I actually received a copy of that letter, and to my knowledge, that letter was written just after our Mayapur Vrindavan festival in 1974. And at the time, I was traveling with the devotees from Australia. I'd been a book distributor for the past 3 or 4 years, and we went to Sridhar's ashram, Sridhar Maharaj's ashram. And I think it was Jayapataka Swami who arranged for that. He was arranging for the various parikrams at the time. And I think Vishwakarma Prabhu, you were there also at that meeting. I think we remember that.
Yes, it was Bhavananda. It was Bhavananda, I believe, that made the arrangement with Prabhupada.
Yeah, they worked together a little bit.
You know? Yeah, carry on.
They were the brothers there.
Carry on.
So, now at the time, when we came back from that trip over to the ashram, Madhavisa Swami, he took me aside and he said Prabhupada was furious when we came back because he wanted to know what had been discussed at that particular meeting. Because we were all sat down in the ashram, in Sridhar's ashram, we were served prasadam, there was warm sweet rice, I remember it to this day. We were served out, looked after nicely there. And then there were the Gaudiya Math sannyasis, they spoke. And then some of our men also spoke. And later that afternoon, Madhavisa called me aside and he said, Prabhupada was ropeable. He said, when he heard what had happened, because actually the Gaudiya Math sannyasis and Sridhar, they were in a subtle way denigrating Srila Prabhupada. They were referring to him making lectures and he's gone overseas, and it was all very subtle. But Prabhupada was furious because he said, my men have not supported me. He said, my men did not counter the arguments that they were making. And he said, I haven't seen Prabhupada so angry. So that was relayed to me by Madhavisa Swami, who was in the room with Prabhupada at the time. So that letter, I didn't see that letter then, of course, but as I became temple president in 75, 76, I found that temple in the letter in some of the files, in the office files. And that made such an impression on me because I linked that letter, I thought, was a response to what had happened in the Gaudiya Math then. And from that day, I refused to have anything to do with the, that was Prabhupada's instruction. And we know in the Bhagavad Gita that in the discussion between Arjuna and Kṛṣṇa, you know, Kṛṣṇa had agreed to be the chariot driver of Arjuna. So therefore he was under the control of Arjuna. So just like the pure devotee is under the control, can control Kṛṣṇa. So Kṛṣṇa was under the control of Arjuna. Kṛṣṇa, pull up my chariot. I want to inspect the armies assembled. So he did that. And then the discussion of Bhagavad Gita took place. So at the time, Arjuna was arguing with Kṛṣṇa, oh, I don't want to kill the relatives and so on. And then as Kṛṣṇa then explained the transcendental philosophy to Arjuna, Arjuna then accepted Kṛṣṇa as his spiritual master. He said, yes, you are my master. Now I am a soul surrendered unto you, and I will do everything you say. So from that point on, the guru and sishya was developed, the spiritual master and the disciple. So this is the example that we have to follow with Srila Prabhupada. When Srila Prabhupada makes a statement like this, we can't then argue back. You know, we can't argue with the guru. You know, another example, if I could just quickly explain, when Srila Prabhupada was bathing at the Ganga, and many of his senior disciples and sannyasis were there, and they would help Srila Prabhupada out of the coming up the bank, the steep bank on the Ganga in Mayapur. And Madhavisa was helping Srila Prabhupada by holding his hand and helping him come up the side of the bank. And then when he was at the top of the bank, Madhavisa told me this story. Prabhupada threw his hand away. He threw Madhavisa's hand, like threw it off like that. And Madhavisa said, I said, you know what, I've done something wrong to Srila Prabhupada. And then Prabhupada said, this is like the impersonalists and the Mayavadi. He said they will take assistance from the guru and then they will discard it, throw it away. He said, so he gave that example of throwing away the hand after it's been used for help. So yeah, very, very important letter, that one. I still have a copy of it right up in the front of my files there. And it's something every devotee should read, that. Every devotee who considers themselves a Sishya, disciple of Srila Prabhupada, that is most important letter. So thank you very much, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. Very wonderful explanation of these most exalted shlokas. Very wonderful. And Vishwakam Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Haribol, thank you. We've got, I see Rathayatra Prabhu there in South India by the beautiful mountain there, the Sankirtan devotee. Prabhu, please share us your insights about disobeying the orders of the spiritual master and how it's affected the Sankirtan mission in 2023. If you could, for a minute, your thoughts.
Jai Dandavats, everyone.
Thank
As
you.
a devotee, many of us had experiences with, I did at least a couple of times. Devotees invited us to meet Prabhupada's God brothers. And I didn't get that enthusiastic about it. As having some association with Prabhupada, he was the real thing. And that's why I always stuck with Prabhupada in my ups and downs throughout my devotional life. Because just to obey his instructions, like Yaśodā-nandana said, everything Prabhupada gave us, everything we have, and it would slowly become revealed. So the more we chant our rounds, the more we follow these four regular principles, the more things get revealed. All of us experience of that. And that's why we keep going. Disobedience of Srila Prabhupada spoiled the movement. We see ISKCON, none of us want to be part of that no more. It's totally spoiled. I mean, even when I go to Vrindavan and Mayapur, places like that, I don't want to associate with these guys, you know. I'm just there for the deities and do some service and basically get some more books to distribute. But I have no desire to be with these guys that disobeyed Srila Prabhupada's orders. I mean, the biggest order was Prabhupada said, do not change anything. Do not change my books. And they started doing that right away. And then, like Vishwakarma said, it's like a business. They're in India. I visit them a lot. They're basically there for showing off the deities and gathering money. And the Indians love that and they join it. And they're happy with that. Like I just found out they're spending $12 million to build a temple in Puri. My first reaction is they're doing that for one reason, to attract members, to make money. And they're spending $12 million, yet they can't give us elderly devotees a place to stay or take care for us. Many children were abused, they're not taking care of them. Women were abused, yet they can spend $12 million on a big temple in Puri to show off, hey, this is what we need to get more members and more money. And they don't care about us. And this is what has become And what are they going to do with this big temple? They're going to distribute change books. They're going to offer prasadam to some, who knows who they're going to offer the prasadam to. It's nothing like what it was when we were devotees. And that's what we can pass on to this new generation that's attending these classes and joining our movement. That Prabhupada is only guru you need. And you just need to follow his instructions and read his books, the unedited books. Everything will happen in your life. Your life would change to such a positive way that Prabhupada wanted us to. And I'm grateful to be part of this group, because I'm with Good Association. We're all on the same wavelength. I'm attending some classes with the Balaram Das from Turkey. He's doing a wonderful program in Germany. You guys should check out the classes online. I think his YouTube channel is Mr. Amazing, which is talking about Prabhupada, Mr. Amazing. But you said the classes are coming on. A lot of us are going to be speaking on these classes, but that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see this new generation is coming up and dedicated to Prabhupada, obeying his instructions, and distributing the only original books. And these guys in Germany are doing a wonderful job. I mean, it's inspiring to listen to these guys. Just like it's very inspiring to come on and listen to you, Bruce. Thank you for listening. Hari Bol, South India Ki Jai.
Thank you so much. And I feel inclined to ask Yaśodā to maybe make a brief comment. And I have a couple of announcements after that. Yaśodā, Prabhu, any further comments?
I wanted to read one or two paragraphs from a portion of Caitanya Caritamrita. This is from Madhya Lila, chapter 12, text 135. Madhya Lila of Caitanya Caritamrita, chapter 12, text 135. This is the pastime of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cleansing of the Gundicha temple. And in one of the purports, Prabhupada says, by his practical example, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has shown us that all the grains of sand must be picked up thoroughly and thrown outside. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also cleansed the outside of the temple, fearing that the grains of sand would again come within. In this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains that even though one may become free from the desire for fruitive activity, sometimes the subtle desire for fruitive activity again comes into being within the heart. One often thinks of conducting business to improve devotional activity, but the contamination is so strong that it may later develop into misunderstanding described as kutinati, fault finding, pratishta asha, the desire for name and fame and for high position, jiva himsa, envy of other living entities, nishiddha achara, accepting things forbidden in the Shastra, kama, desire for material gain, and puja, hankering for popularity. The word kutinati means duplicity. As an example of pratistasha, one may attempt to imitate Srila Haridas Thakur by living in a solitary place. One's real desire may be for name and fame. In other words, one thinks that fools will accept one to be as good as Haridas Thakur just because one lives in a solitary place. These are all material desires. A neophyte devotee is certain to be attacked by other material desires as well, namely desires for women and money. In this way, the heart is again filled with dirty things and becomes harder and harder like that of a materialist. Gradually, one desires to become a reputed devotee or an avatar incarnation. Now, let me just repeat that here. Gradually, one desires to become a reputed devotee or an avatar incarnation. In the next paragraph, Prabhupada explains, by acting as a professional guru, mystic yogi, or miracle man, one may cheat and bluff the general public and gain fame as a wonderful mystic, but all this is considered to be dust, straw, and grains of sand within the heart. In addition, one should follow the relegative principles of not desiring illicit sex, gambling, intoxicants, or meat. Hare Krishna.
Yes,
It speaks
and
for itself.
it speaks for itself, Prabhu, and thank you very much. And I wanted to say that a lot of times we present these writings directly from Srila Prabhupada. In other words, we post them or we read them, and then people turn around and they look at us and they want to shoot the postman. How come you're blaspheming other devotees? Well, we just read the letter from Prabhupada to you, and you think that we're telling you when all we are is repeating the message that he's giving directly to all of us, but you're thinking that we're fault finding. This is the insanity that exists in the current chaotic ISKCON world. They've gone completely insane. So that's enough of that. And thank you. I do have a few announcements, just that we're going to finish up the discussion, reading and discussion today. And thank you, everyone, for the wonderful questions and answers that we all heard from our esteemed God brothers. We have, first announcement, we have a lawsuit that we're engaged in against two ISKCON gurus for $750,000 currently in Canada. And the person that's suing them is a mother, a Mataji, that was serving sincerely a former person from India that was from Brijbasi parents. And she's a very astute devotee that understood the true meaning of serving Prabhupada and serving the deities. But the temple administration and the guruship group that are handling her kicked her out of the temple because she wouldn't conform to their point of view in terms of initiation and guruship, etc., etc. So as a result, she started this lawsuit two years ago, and it's moving towards discoveries. And what we're seeing is a systematic program by these people that if you object to anything that they say, if you don't conform to what they want, they banish you out of the temple. In one situation a few years ago, there was a devotee, Mayur, in the Toronto temple, and he ran into a conflict, Balaram, with the administration there, and they kicked him out in the middle of the night in the cold, and he froze to death on the park bench outside the temple. And when they came, the police came to investigate the murder. They lied and said he was insane, but in fact, all that happened was he got kicked out in the middle of the night and was so upset, he sat on the bench and froze to death. This is going on in real time, everyone. Know this. We had a wonderful class, but this is the end of the class. I'm just bringing this up. I want anybody in this group who has had the similar experience of being banished from ISKCON because they didn't want to distribute the yellow Gitas, or they didn't want to get initiation from an ISKCON guru, or they didn't want to conform to the ISKCON programs that they've concocted, which are multiple. If you can produce an affidavit for us, we'll read it into the court, how this same type of business is going on all over the world by the ISKCON group towards its membership. And this is not a proper way that you handle disputes. In fact, we know in a particular situation, and Yaśodā has discussed it, in the early days, they actually resorted to an unfortunate situation with Sulochan, where they not only banished him, they got rid of him. So this is going on, And we are all victims of this. And these people are going to be held accountable by our group and the group of devotees worldwide who have experienced the same type of abuse, demoralization, and degradation by these motivated people who are looking for members so they can get money. That's number one. So think about this, everyone. We are working on this. This thing is going down. Discoveries are coming in October, and it's going to be very interesting, and I'll keep you posted. So we are enjoying the service, by the way. It's not malicious. It's seeking truth. 2, we have festivals coming up in Sacramento on September 7th and September 8th, put on by the Hare Krishna Society Sacramento. And thank you. There's the Janmashtami Festival, and you can read it. Special guest speaker, His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Dāsa, renowned senior disciple and Vedic scholar of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. You see the beautiful picture of Prabhupada there, and Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu with his tape recorder. It's just, look at that. This is our God brother, and he's blessing everyone with so many amazing stories that his powerful memory can recollect for our information at all these classes. So this is a very, very important thing. And then thank you so much, our production chief, Venkat Bhatta. Look at this. Sri Vyas Puja Festival, celebrating the appearance day of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And this is on Friday, September 8th, 2023. And again, we have our guest speaker, and it's sponsored by, of course, the Sacramento Center and the Prabhupada Disciples Association. That's a second announcement. So we're moving forward, things are happening. Number 3, we have a Vyas Puja book that we are publishing, and we do want all of you to make sure you write a offering. And if you could show the cover, Venkat Bhatta Prabhu, please, it would be great. And you'll see how beautiful he designed this. Look at this. And this is the offerings from the real disciples of Srila Prabhupada. And this will be offered on Amazon. And it's from the Hare Krishna Society and Prabhupada Disciples Association, which we're all members. And it will be offered on Kinder, on the Amazon printing facility. And inside, we're putting in a series of articles explaining about our focus on Prabhupada's Diksha and Siksha Guru. And then after that, all of your Vyas Puja offerings will be put in alphabetical order for everyone to read, and to motivate more people to take up this mission of reestablishing Prabhupada's legacy as the pure devotee spiritual master that will deliver everyone back home, back to Godhead. So thank you, everyone, for attending today, and we apologize for going a little bit over. We're going to end up this program with a Kirtan and chant along with our spiritual master in the repetition of the holy names. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, and all glories to the association of Prabhupada disciples working together to preserve his legacy.
Krishna Caitanya Caritamrita Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaurata Vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Rama, Hare Hare.
Vajjakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.